What's going on, guys? This is David Palmer, the Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the veil and I go deep into the week of May 20th through the 26th of 2015. And this is an astrological weekly report. And it's uncut, right? This is where I'm raw, I'm real. The presentation is all about just really getting deep into who the Leo King is and how to translate the energy. Now, before I even go into this week's horoscope, I gotta say that I have not been in my best energy. So I'm going to try and separate my personal energies from this horoscope. I was in the hospital this week. I'm not feeling well. It's been a lot. So now I know that's kind of the crazy times we're in. So let's start with Mercury retrograde and how this one is crazy. Mercury in its natural sign going retrograde for the next 3 weeks. Neptune in its natural sign going to square this retrograde. This brings things all over the place. We call this the crazy circus clown. We call this the crazy merry-go-round. This is where it even could feel like extreme crazy, kind of hypnotic, maybe even like, you know, wild, mental, and unpredictable situations that are happening in our lives right now. Lots of confusion. And that's not gonna be easy for this transit that we're going through in our life right now. The reason why I say that is because if you really look at it, this is intense because right now the sun is about to enter Gemini this week. And it's gonna meet up now with Mars, which is in Gemini, a Mercury retrograde. Our soul does not want to be confused. Mars in Gemini does not answer to confusion. Nope. It wants every answer. It wants to figure out why things are going on. It wants the answer to all the questions. A Mercury retrograde too is a digger for information. It wants to, question a lot of things. It wants to figure things out. It wants to look in directions it never has before. Mercury retrograde to me is always like, oh, let's go into the archives, and let's start looking at all the files. It really is deep. And with the sun that comes into Gemini this week, and it opposes Saturn and Sagittarius, information is at a powerful challenge. We have to look in a lot of areas for the information. That's what Saturn and Sagittarius is opposing this sun with. It's like, this is a time where no matter how much you're trying to figure things out, or you need to have the answers to everything, there are major lessons in having to expand or maybe even go through experiences that you might not want to go through. Because Saturn and Sagittarius is about experience. Sagittarius is about experience. So when you get Saturn in Sag, it's hard experiences to make you grow. It's not simple ones. They're very, very powerful. They're not, Jupiter experiences. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and that Jupiter experience is in Leo. It's trying to expand the heart right now. It's trying to expand our self-love, our self-sustaining light. But that cannot be found right now until there has all this mental and emotional information to be found. I say emotional because as we face this Saturn opposition to the sun this week, this is the arch nemesis. It's the sun, it's Saturn, it's the devil, it's, Jesus fighting it out and battling it out right now. This is a crucial turning point in our lives right now, but it's a turning point on what are the experiences that we must go through so we can shift our perception, so we can understand things in ways we never have before. Mercury retrograde brings you into a place that you've never been before. Mercury has never squared Neptune in a retrograde in Pisces and like this in a long time. I think it's like over 100 years, like 150 years. Now, I'm doing that for my own personal calculations. I will be honest, I have not, this is uncut, I have not done that on the computer. But since I'm kind of like a chess player with astrology, I guarantee you look back, it's been 150 years since Mercury retrograde in Gemini squared Neptune in Pisces. And with Saturn opposing all this and squaring this spot, really, this is like intense challenge to overcome the misinformation, to expand and have powerful experiences for you to try and figure things out in weird ways. You know, you have to face Saturn. The sun facing Saturn is like, sure, we want to be youthful and exciting and positive. But, you know, Saturn teaches us that we need to really, you know, find the foundation to certain things. We must take some sort of hard lessons. We must have some sort of slower growth. And so there's a lot of that comes up this week. Maybe challenges. I mean, emotionally, the Moon and Venus are going to conjunct and oppose Pluto this week. And Venus, that's in Cancer, is stressed this week. Venus, which wants to love and be positive and receive good energy and feel good and be taken care of right now in Cancer, has an opposition to Pluto, which is harsh in Capricorn. We are going to break through, and we are about to change powerful parts of our self-worth, our feel-good energy, you know, how we take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves. We got to be tough. We got to continue to, you know, Pluto and Capricorn teaches that we got to still step up to the plate. We still have to do the work. We just can't, you know, lay in bed no matter what. There's an energy coming around this week that we just want to feel so good, and we want to feel so, you know, whatever that takes, but we don't know how. And we're lost in that direction. And there's big lessons to it. And with Venus that squares Uranus this week, we have to find new ways to be stronger this week. That our emotions are going to have to be stronger in ways we never thought possible. And Mars squares Neptune this week, which means we are driving the ship into the iceberg. Mars square Neptune is where you know, it's like you intuitively know there are powerful, powerful places that you can go towards, that you think you should go. You know, the whole Titanic story was the captain was like, full steam ahead, the unsinkable ship, you know? And it didn't pay attention to the ice reports, you know, and it just shows up out of nowhere. Neptune kind of just like, you know, unveils the truth in very weird ways. It also is the deceiver. And with this Mercury retrograde and with all this tension with Venus this week, and honestly, just looking at this Sun in Gemini opposition, this is a crazy window here. And this week, it's about picking a bead and making sure you stay forward on it, but not getting lost. You know where you need to go, and just stick to that. Don't get caught up in all the craziness all over the place. Just focus on what's so important to get you through to the next step every moment. This is where it just completely just tumbles and tumbles, and the tumbleweed can keep tumbling. And we can get lost in that tumbleweed. We could get taken away to different places. We could take actions that we just are not guided by our true spirit with. This is where all the information needs to come in extreme ways, and to not just take action off the first bit that you get. Or to not even believe the first bit of information that comes. Remember, the opposition is on both ways. That even our beliefs have to get all the facts, which are not in easy positions. This is not easy. The moon will be on Jupiter this week, and I think that does give us a reminder that it's all okay, and that the universe will supply positivity where it can, and it will pop up its head when it needs to. But one thing about Gemini Neptune, or Gemini Pisces squares, is the connection to God and the seeing of that God, or the understanding of that God, can sometimes be difficult. Doesn't mean that, I know you believe in God, or maybe you don't believe in God, or that you believe in your angels or whatever. It doesn't mean that you don't believe in them. It just might sometimes be harder to actually you know, have that energy come in so easy. Because it's almost like, you know, it's at the last minute, or we finally understand it. Or a good example is, I was looking for an answer the other day for so much, and I was like, wow, where is the answer? And then it finally came, just finally, at a most like last minute moment, at the moment when I had given up for the answer. You know, that's kind of like Neptune, Mercury square, and that's kind of also as well Pisces, Gemini. The positive in all this is massive growth. Last week, and I think what we learned in Taurus, is that we have this amazing life. I called it the Lamborghini. Let's refer that to our life, and that it's amazing, and it can go out there and do all these amazing things in life that we want to. But there's a huge mental, emotional, spiritual kind of fear going on of whether or not that car can actually win a race, whether that car is going to stay running, whether or not that, you know, we're going to get where we need to go next. It starts to become very confusing here. And that's why I showed, if you go on my Facebook, I showed a clip from Days of Thunder. It's a movie with Tom Cruise, where Tom Cruise is a NASCAR driver, and in the movie he gets in a huge car crash, almost dies. And him and his buddy get airlifted, and they go through surgeries and all this crazy crap. But he's changed after that. He's afraid to get back out there on the track. He's afraid to race again. Well, he gets to the last race. He decides he's going to race again because he's not going to let his fear overcome him. What happens? Another crash happens that he has to drive through. And the only way he can get through it is he has to pick it, and he has to accelerate through it and trust and know in his heart that he'll get through the craziness to get there. And I know that's where we're at in our lives right now. We might be mistaken, though, in certain aspects. I mean, this is where it's a tricky situation. I think that you will see a positive road in front of you, and one that does not get so caught up with the confusion. When you seem hysteric and you seem a lot of all over the place and crazy, that's not the direction to turn towards. Because the more with Mars in the middle of this for the next couple weeks, the accelerator is on. Trust me, Mars in Gemini will just flat out over rev the engine if it wants to. So your guide is to get out of hysteria and get out of confusion. And when you hit this little mini sweet spot, because between every square is this beautiful sweet spot, when you hit that sweet spot, I think that's when it's going to be perfect, when you have the direction understood, when you know where you're going, and there is no hysteria, but there's some sort of confidence there, because that's where you just keep going for it. And there's a need to kind of hang on to that last bit of confidence and go on there instead of get lost in the hysteria of what's going on. And even though you might want to feel a certain way this week, that Moon, Venus, opposed Pluto, square Uranus, will not get it without making some sort of death or sacrifice, or more importantly, having to see some sort of different reaction than what you're expecting be experienced. So just know this week that the feeling you want so bad will probably not come, because you have to experience life differently in a way that you might not emotionally want to. Moon on Venus conjunct always, especially in Cancer, is like, I want to feel this way only. Nope, only this way to feel good. It's not going to happen this time. There's something we must go through this week. Is probably the last thing we might want to go through or do to actually get to what will make us feel the way we want to. And there's going to be a hesitation of fear, and with the hysteria around and the confusion, and with Mercury and Mars starting to conjunct by the end of this week, it is a huge accelerator on our head, a huge accelerator on the confusing process, a huge accelerator of getting lost. Sun opposed Saturn is reminding us to take time, that we do not need to figure it out so much. We might need to do a lot of research on things right now in our life. And we might need to do that research, explore those areas, talk to some gurus or teachers in your life. This is where a mentor in your life is very important and powerful. But overall, we'll get through, because we always do. We always do. And if you look at astrology, we always do. It's been crazy through lots of times, you know. I've looked at the charts of the Dark Ages. I've looked at charts of many different time periods in life, and we always go through craziness. There's always going to be stuff that is crazy. You know, this Mercury retrograde is crazy because it's happening in the natural home of the two planets that are majorly squaring, in signs that majorly square, and in times that come out of, you know, major catastrophe that we've gone through spiritually, emotionally in our solar system. So it's crazy out there. But man, there's an abundance of life around us. And in many ways, life is starting to peak more. We seem to look at it in our world as death, or as an ending taking place. Or, you know, there's this article turning around from a guy who did a horoscope of the outer, or of an outer look from the solar system, and the solar system like a helio view, that on May 28th there's going to be some traumatic events coming. I think what we need to focus more on is that it's amazing on how much life is around, and how much more increasing things are coming, that the earth is not dying by the waters, or the rising sea levels, or the ice, or anything, that the heat that is coming in this life is increasing. The life force is increasing. The population is tripling. The energy is getting more and more intense. The technology is rapidly advancing. We don't know how to handle a bullet train yet, spiritually. So know that all this stuff that's happening in your life is happening so that you could finally understand what it's like to be on the bullet train of the universe. Welcome. Take a seat and try and maybe have a drink and just enjoy the ride. If you want to support me, you can watch my daily horoscopes on my app or my website, leoking.lookstack.com. We just redid the website, and we're adding comment features. Check it out, leoking.lookstack.com. You can do a 5-day free trial to get access to that. Also, my Back to the Root MP3s are on sale. For $2.99, you get access to an MP3 about your sun sign, a 20-minute video that goes deep into the whole sun sign, the whole energy about it, the esoteric view, and I go into the different houses of where that sun is based off your sign. So check it out at my website, inclusiveastrology.com, if you want to support me very much. I love you from the bottom of my heart. I'm sending you all my best through this energy. And I want to take a moment and just pray with you. And I want to pray, I want to pray to Jesus, because I've been connecting to Jesus a lot lately, that, you know, I pray that nothing but light shines into our life, that we're guided by love, that we're okay through this process, that our angels guide us when it gets confusing, and that I know that the Holy Father of the universe, and the light that guides us every day of God is there for us, and that we will be okay, and that God will shine love into our life and positivity into our life at every moment through this next week. Amen. I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week.